Hi, I'm Gary, and welcome to my galley. And in my galley today, it's part two of potatoes. And up first is the classic mashed potatoes. So we're not only going to make mashed potatoes, but learn how to make the perfect mashed potato every time. We're going to take those mashed potatoes, we're going to make Duchess potatoes, potato pancakes topped with smoked salmon, and potato waffles. All right, so the first thing for making your potatoes is picking the perfect potato. So the russets, the Idaho baking potato, those are going to be your starchiest potatoes. And because of that starch, those are going to be your lightest and fluffiest potatoes. Okay, so when making mashed potatoes, there are some rules that if you follow, you will always produce the perfect mashed potato. One of those is cutting your potato the same size so that you have even cooking time. Now, you can cut your potatoes big or small as long as they're the same size. I like to cut my potatoes small because it allows for them to cook faster. But I still think that if your potato pieces are this big, even if they're the same size, the center is not going to be done at the same time as the outside's going to be done. So I think the smaller the better, as long as they're uniform size. So that is rule number one. Rule number two is to always start your potatoes in cold water. Never start them in hot water. Do not boil your water first and then add your potatoes, because this too will give you an uneven cooked potato. So if you do that, the outside of your potato is going to start cooking and just cook away before the inside of your potato can cook. So even size and cold water. Now the couple big handfuls of our kosher salt, and then we're going to go medium-high heat to get these potatoes started. Once they come up to a boil, we'll turn that heat down. Now another great tip for your mashed potatoes is to not put cold cream and butter in your freshly cooked hot mashed potatoes, because it will start cooling it down. I use heavy cream for my potatoes, but you can use half and half. You could use milk, but I like heavy cream, or half and half if I don't have heavy cream. Now for each potato, I do 1 big tablespoon of butter, and I have my salted Danish butter because I want that really, really rich butter for these potatoes. And for each potato, I do 1/4 cup of your cream or milk. So I'm going to add my salt, and I'm going to do about 1/4 of a teaspoon or 1 good pinch of salt per potato, and then I'm going to pepper. And I always do white pepper for my mashed potatoes. So you can see our potatoes are just starting to come to a boil. And when that happens, I'm going to turn them down to medium low, keeping an eye on them. I don't want a rapid boil, just a nice steady boil like this. I'm going to set my timer for 10 minutes, and then I'm going to start checking them at 10 minutes. So our butter and cream seasoned mixture, I will sit on top of this, And this will have this nice and melty and warm and ready for our mashed potatoes so that we don't cool down our hot mashed potatoes with cold butter and cream. So our potatoes are cooking away over here. Our butter and cream's getting nice and warm. Now, if you don't have a bowl that you can set on top of your pot like that, you can put your butter and cream and salt and pepper in a small saucepan and just warm it up that way. And most commercial kitchens, that's what they do. They have a big pot of potatoes and another pot with the cream and butter ready to go. If you do have a microwave, you can warm it up in a microwave as well. But our timer is just about to go off at our 10-minute mark for our potatoes. So we can start checking them. And you can just, if your potato gives you a little bit of resistance, it's not quite ready. So we're going to give that a couple more minutes. And we want just the perfect fork tender potato. We don't want to overcook these potatoes. If you overcook them, they just are like sponges and absorb all of that water. And then you have really runny, soggy mashed potatoes. But we want really perfect mashed potatoes. I got my strainer ready to go. All right, so our potatoes are done. And I just want to show you that you want just to be able to push your fork evenly down through it. And you can see how that's mashing. And you can still see that it's dry. It's not really soggy. It's not producing lots of extra moisture. It's the perfect potato. So let's get them mashing. So while our potatoes are draining, I want to talk to you about how we're going to mash these. Now, you can make mashed potatoes with a fork. I have done it in moves and you can't find your masher or your ricer, and you can make mashed potatoes with a fork. You can make mashed potatoes with the good old-fashioned potato masher. Some people will put them in their stand mixer or their hand mixer, and technically that is whipped potatoes. And be very careful when you make whipped potatoes, because the longer you beat them, then you're breaking down those starches and it's going to get very gluey and gummy on you. So be careful with your whipped potatoes. But I think my favorite way to make the smoothest, no lump mashed potatoes is with my potato ricer. And I know a lot of people don't have a potato ricer, and a lot of us on boats, space is a premium, and you really only want to take up space for something that you can use a lot. I happen to love my potato ricer. I can make applesauce with this. I can do berries to make a berry coulis. I can do cauliflower to make cauliflower rice. And then with that cauliflower rice, use that in a stir fry or a pizza crust. And I can also use it for potato gnocchis, which I absolutely love. So for me, it's worth it just for the potato gnocchi. So that's what we're going to use today. We're going to use our ricer. Now, the great thing too about mashed potatoes is all the different ways that you can take this mashed potatoes. And this is the point where you'd want to do this. Cream cheese is a beautiful addition to mashed potatoes. Let it come up to room temperature. Put it in here. Put your hot potatoes over it. Boursin cheese, if you've ever had Boursin cheese in your mashed potatoes, it might be one of my favorite mashed potatoes. Put that Boursin cheese down in here. You can do roasted garlic. You can do roasted red peppers. You can do lobster for lobster mashed potatoes. And do you see how beautiful that is? The potatoes just coming out of there so smooth. So potatoes are just so versatile. Just the mashed potatoes are so versatile. Parmesan cheese you could put in here. Cheddar cheese you could put in here. And I know I'm missing things, but just off the top of my head, that's all the different flavors of mashed potatoes you can make. Isn't that beautiful? And I'm going to add just about 1 inch of water to my pot over here and put that on some heat. And we're going to use that to keep our potatoes warm. So we finish mashing these, and then we'll come back and give them a stir, and the most important part, taste them. So we got all of our potatoes mashed, and we're going to mix all of that goodness up so that we can taste them and then go on to make all our other beautiful dishes. Don't beat this up again. We don't want to break up all those starches. We just want to fold all of those flavors in, and we have this beautiful, creamy, smooth mashed potatoes. It's a little hot, but I'm gonna go for it anyway and see if we need to adjust the seasoning. And I don't. It's perfect. Hooray for us. It's absolutely perfect. So before we start doing all of our other potatoes that we're going to do, I want to just show you real quick a trick for making these potatoes up in advance and then keeping them warm until you're ready to serve. And that's another beauty of the mashed potato, is that I can let it sit warm for a good hour. So I'm just going to put this on my pot. I've got my inch of water in there. I've got my bowl covered with saran wrap, and I can keep my potatoes warm for an hour, hour and a half. So this is a great thing to do to make ahead and just sit it on your back burner and keeping warm, whether it's for Thanksgiving or just every night dinner, or you have company come in and you want to make mashed potatoes. You can do this in advance, push it to the back, and when you're ready to serve, you have a bowl of warm, beautiful mashed potatoes. Now, first up, I'm doing this one first. We're going to work backwards because these side dishes that we're going to do, one is going to be perfect for dinner, one for an appetizer, and one for breakfast. So we're working backwards, and the first is the one for dinner, and that's the Duchess potato. So I want to let these cool down, and then we'll get started with them. So for your Duchess potatoes, and why I love this one for dinner, as I really love this one for a dinner party, because you can do these potatoes the day before, pop them in the fridge, and when it comes time for dinner, oven for about 20 minutes, and then you have these beautiful little potatoes, and people are going to go, oh, those are so adorable. They're going to love them. And all I want to do for my leftover potatoes, and this is per 1 cup of leftover mashed potatoes, is 1 egg yolk and just a little bit of nutmeg, just a hint. And unfortunately, I was out of my freshly grated nutmeg, but that's okay. This is going to work. And that's all you have to do. That's all these need is 1 egg yolk. And we're going to mix that up. We're going to pipe that into a bag and pipe them out. So a lot of times if I'm making mashed potatoes, then that night when I'm cleaning up the galley, I will go ahead and put my egg yolk, put my nutmeg, pipe these out, pop them in the fridge, and then I have them ready for dinner the next night. So you just want to pipe these out. And I like to think of this as like a Hershey Kiss. And that's just all there is to it. You have your mashed potatoes, an egg yolk, and a little bit of nutmeg. And aren't they super cute? Now, these need to sit for at least 1 hour before we cook them. So they need 1 hour in the fridge. And by the magic of TV, we have some ready to go. Now this was one russet potato, and it made 3 of these Duchess potatoes. And in the oven, you want to do 400 degrees for 10 minutes. And we're going to drop the oven to 350 and do another about 12 minutes for those. So next up, we're going to do the potato pancake. And I'm using this one as the appetizer one, and I'll show you why in just a few moments. This potato pancake, not only is it easy, but you can use this for breakfast. You can use this for dinner. It's great with pork dishes. You can serve applesauce on top of it. But we're going to use these to make a little appetizer. So for each cup of mashed potatoes, you want to do 1 egg, 1/4 cup of flour, and you might have to come back and add a little more. It depends on how wet your potatoes got. I'm going to add some chives. Now you, again, can put anything you want in these potato pancakes. You can put bacon, you can put ham, you can put cheese. But I'm going to keep these pretty simple because we're going to top them with some smoked salmon and sour cream. When you're making potato pancakes with your leftover mashed potatoes, you want to let them sit out at room temperature for a good 30 minutes so that you can easily manipulate them. These are going to be soft. These are going to look soft for us today because these are still a little warm. Normally, if I was just making potato pancakes and made mashed potatoes for that, I would let them sit in the fridge and cool down a bit. But to help with that, I'm just going to flour my hands, and that'll help them keep from sticking. A little scooper like this is a great way to do these so that you have a uniform size. And we're just going to make these little cakes here about this size, just about appetizer size. And I've got my skillet on over here with just a little bit of avocado oil. And we're going to make a few of these. Now this is another great thing that you can make ahead of time if you're having company, because you can make these little cakes up and pop them in the fridge and then cook them when you're ready for them. And you don't really need to drain these on a paper towel. I do have some. Oh, that is the signal to turn our oven down to 350. I'm going to add another 10 minutes to that to put these on when they come off. And you can hear that they're crispy, and they're going to be super, super light and soft on the inside. And again, about 3 minutes aside. So next up, and my personal favorite, is these potato waffles. And this is so delicious to have for breakfast. And I have my little baby waffle maker here. Now, again, per 1 cup of mashed potatoes, we're going to do 1 egg, 1/4 cup of flour. Now, I know some people put a little baking soda or baking powder, in these. And you're welcome to do that. It will puff them up a little more, but I'm not worried about puffing them up. Bacon and cheddar. And again, this is yours to experiment with and put in what you like. So I love these for breakfast, and top them with like a sunny side up egg, and just let that warm egg yolk soak through them. Again, if this is leftover mashed potatoes coming out of the fridge, let them come up to room temperature about 30 minutes. Now this isn't going to be like your batter mixture for waffles in that you can pour it. You're going to have to use a spoon to manipulate that. So in our little waffle maker here, and I'm going to spray this And we're just going to spoon this right in here, and you just got to help it around, smooth it around. And we're going to close the lid and give it about 5 minutes. All right, so we're steaming away over here. Our little waffle is cooking away. We've got our potato pancakes ready. And what we're going to do with these is top them with a little sour cream and salmon. This is a perfect vessel for smoked salmon. And you can make these at an appetizer if you were having a big cocktail party, and you could do your potato pancakes, put them in a warming tray and keep them warm, and then put all of your stuff on the side and let people make their own. And you could do smoked salmon and capers and red onions and chives and all kinds of fun stuff to top them. And people could be like a bar, like a potato bar, potato cake bar, where people could make their own. And we just got some smoked salmon, and we're going to put that smoked salmon on top, garnish with some chives, and we're going to have a taste of that. I'm looking forward to this. So good. Potatoes, salmon, so good together. Oh, that's a beautiful dish. So this would also make a beautiful, beautiful breakfast. Smoked salmon and some sour cream and potato cakes. Beautiful breakfast as well. So very, very versatile, super easy. Some leftover mashed potatoes and a couple of leftover mashed potatoes. We just made 5, and we could have easily made 5 more of these. So I'm going to peek down here in the oven. I have to take another bite. When you make waffles, you can pretty much take a fork and pick them up out of there. And I find that with these, they're a little bit tender. And if you're doing brownies, they're a little bit tender too. And sometimes you can't just pick them up that easy. So I'll just manipulate them, make sure they're not sticking. Sometimes my West Virginia just comes right out. And then just flip them. So, I mean, what's not to love? Bacon, cheese, potato, and a crispy waffle. Now, can you just imagine? That's our Duchess potatoes. Couldn't you just imagine an egg on there? Oh, so good. But what I really like is I make sriracha sour cream, and that's it. It's sour cream and sriracha. And I love these with sriracha sour cream. And you can just dip them in plain sour cream, but I really like the sriracha. So here we go. More really hot potatoes that I'm putting in my mouth today. Mm. So good. I just love these potatoes. They are super soft inside. And there's so much going on. Bacon and cheese and potato and sriracha. You need these for your next breakfast. Mm. I would keep eating that, but we need to pull out the adorable Duchess potatoes. I mean, can't you just see popping these out at a dinner party and putting them on the plates? And you know that people would just be like, those are so pretty. Those are so neat. How did you do that? And just look at it. And you can kind of hear that the outside has set up. So it's holding its shape. So, so good. And then more hot potato for Gary to put in her mouth. I don't even know if I can break that open with my hand. It's so hot. But you can see just exactly how, just see how super, super soft and tender that is on the inside. Really, I'm going to have to give that one just a minute. So I'm going to clean up here. I'm going to come back and say goodbye. And I think those might be cool enough for me to taste when we come back. I so hope that you had fun with us today and learned all that you need to do to know how to make a perfect mashed potato. Even cut, always start your potatoes in cold water and don't overcook them. And of course, I had to do the classic little mashed potato with the hole in it and some butter. So classic, classic mashed potatoes. Take these mashed potatoes to thousands of different ideas. For some cheese, cream cheese, lobster. Possibilities are endless. Oh, so good. So perfect. And from our classic little mashed potatoes, we made these beautiful little Duchess potatoes. We haven't got to taste those yet. Super easy, right? 1 egg yolk for a cup of potatoes and a little bit of nutmeg. Just see how soft that is. So good. It's just light. It's just light and delicate. It just melts in your mouth. Perfect for dinner parties or just any dinner. You can hear me sizzling over here. I'm fixing the rest of those waffles. And then breakfast, appetizer, dinner, potato pancake. Again, 1 egg, quarter cup of water, quarter cup of flour for 1 cup of leftover mashed potatoes. And I just really like mine with a little bit of sour cream and smoked salmon. I think I have some water somewhere. I'm going to be full of potatoes today. And last but certainly not least, my personal favorite, the potato waffle, was some sriracha sour cream. So good. So fun to make. And I can't stop eating them. So let me stop eating potatoes so I can say goodbye to you. All right. So we have done storing potatoes. And now we have done the mashed potatoes. And up next in this series of potatoes, we're sticking with the russets. Before we move on to our waxy and our sweet potatoes, we're going to stick with these russets and we're going to make the perfect baked potato. And of course, we're going to take that baked potato and do other things with it after it's baked. So the recipes for all of these are at Gary's Galley. We'll put all the links in the description below, and I'll even put the link for my ricer. There's another smaller ricer that I'll put you a link in there for that as well. So make some mashed potatoes and make mashed potato madness. And if you hit that subscribe button, thank you. I thank you if you give me a thumbs up and just say a couple words. And it helps me to grow and to hopefully keep doing this for you. So thank you all for being here. Love you all. And until next time, safe cruising.